You're at a cocktail party in Washington and you're the new RNC chairman, and somebody, we won't name names, but maybe they're a big Ron Paul fan or maybe they work for Cato, comes up to you and says, the Republican Party, it really needs to drop this marriage issue. It's not a good issue. What's the best case that you would make for why we can't abandon the idea that to make a marriage you need a husband and wife?
Well, first of all, if the next RNC chairman is spending his or her time at cocktail parties in Washington, D.C., they're not doing the job. They ought to be on the phone talking to major donors so that we can resource the kind of candidates that can win. But I'm not trying to dodge the question. Look, I can speak from personal experience, and I think that there's all kinds of evidence all over our society that raising children takes a mom and a dad. And it takes a very committed mom and dad. We not only are we raising 4 kids, but we're homeschooling those 4 kids, and we have all kinds of blessings. Yet we know how tough it is in this day and age in this society to raise kids, to live in this society the kind of lives that we all hope our children can live. That takes a mom and it takes a dad. And the first mission, the first responsibility in our marriage, and I think in every marriage, is raising our kids and raising them as well as we know how. That happens when you have a mom and a dad. It happens when you have one man and one woman in a marriage.
So what's the harm of same-sex marriage?
Well, the harm of same-sex marriage is that it was a number of things, but principally that it devalues the relationship that is shared by my wife and I and other committed married couples, men and women around the country.
So on to a more political question. Thank you very much. Again, following Marjorie's lead, this is more about resources. So the surveys uniformly show that 80% of Republicans support the idea of protecting the traditional definition of marriage. And in particular, in the last election cycle in 2009 and 2010, Republicans who support gay marriage, from Dee Dee Scozzafava to Bill Binney to Tom Campbell, have lost in GOP primaries pretty decisively. In every state in 31 different states where the people have had a chance to vote on this, they have rejected the idea there's a right to same-sex marriage and voted for the traditional understanding of marriage. Yet we know that many candidates have been discouraged directly by the RNC about speaking up on this issue, even a mention on the website. We understand, by the way, that this is not the flagship issue on the minds of voters, so we're not proposing that people run on this as their main issue, but it's the total avoidance of it at all, which is, I think, disturbing especially to those of us in the front line and the grassroots that we have gathered who care about this issue a lot. So I'm wondering if you would continue this policy, or would you encourage candidates to make their position on marriage clear and to try to draw distinctions?
Well, a couple of thoughts for you. First, I would encourage candidates to make their positions clear. In fact, as I've been talking to members about how we positively impact turnout in 2012, I frequently hearken back to 2004. And of course, as you recall, just as a political matter, most of the exit polling late into the evening on election night in 2004 predicted that Senator Kerry would become president, and that would happen in a landslide way. And part of the reason that he didn't, part of the reason that exit polling was wrong, was that marriage amendments on the ballots in key states, and I'm thinking, for example, of Ohio now, but there were others, fundamentally altered the way that turnout worked. Not only was it more Republican, but it was more conservative. Whether it was partisan or not, those voters not only came out to do the right thing on the marriage amendment, but they voted for the Republican candidate for president and helped us carry that election. And so it is not only is it the right thing to do for the country, but politically it's the right thing to do as well. I might, as you know, I'm a vocal critic of the performance of this current chairman. Though I might add that I've had an inside seat. I've had a good chance to see what happens at the RNC And I can tell you that I have never witnessed, as much as I'd love to tell you that it was something that I'd change as chairman, I've never witnessed anybody at the RNC discourage a candidate from making clear their position on this or the life issue. And so, while I'd love to tell you that I would change that policy, that's not a policy at the RNC that I'm aware of. I think many times there are other national political organizations that get involved in primaries, that have a variety of public policy positions that they want to espouse, and sometimes there are people who misunderstand that as the national party, or view it as the national party broadly making those kinds of statements. I really do think, again, as much as I'd love to criticize the current administration for a variety of things, that's not a policy that I witnessed in my time at the RNC. It's clearly not one that I would support, and the direct answer to your question is I would encourage candidates to make clear their positions both on life and marriage, as well as a variety of other issues.
Thank you so much.